Hello and welcome to this episode of the Big Rican Baseball Show. I am here on the night before the playoffs start, and I want to give a shout out to our buddy Willie Epting Jr., who couldn't be on with us tonight, but we will get him on one of the Hot Stove episodes. So if I'm talking baseball and it's not just the Mets, the boys are here. Alex from Row 7, Tone from like a plethora of podcasts. I don't even have the number you're on anymore. We're going to get into the playoffs, but first things first, I want to throw this out there. Willie had said on our football preview episode a few weeks ago that this was the most wonderful time of the year because the NFL started. Gentlemen, I don't think so. The song is Wake Me Up When September Ends, and it is October. It is the greatest month in sport. The Major League Baseball playoffs. Alex, Tone? Well, first, Tone, I think you and I need to pay a little homage to the only person with a dog in the race.
Yeah,
our buddy Alex.
Let's tip our cap to Alex and his squad this year. They had a tremendous year, and as Alex knows, me and his brother go in on some season tickets together. More of a business venture for me, more of a fan thing for them, one way or another. I made my way over there a couple times this year. The South Side has been on fire. The fans are there. They're loyal. They're passionate. Right now in Illinois, the number one license plate out of any sports team you could have, the number one seller is the White Sox. They're ranking over the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Cardinals are thrown in there. So the White Sox are the hot talk of the town right now. They're taking people's hearts. They're running with them. God bless them. They're versing the Astros. What a first-round series we got, guys. This really has ALCS-type feel to it. You have two ball clubs of this type of caliber, the Astros and the White Sox. I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I'll be in Florida for a couple of those postseason games, so I'm looking forward to heading to the bar and watching those. But kudos to you, Alex. What a year for the White Sox. And all things said and done one way or another, I guess Tony La Russa got the job done after all for now.
As I like to coin it, job not done, job's not complete. There's bigger aspirations here in Chicago. I'm pretty proud of the boys for the amount of injuries that this team had throughout the year. The lineup being together finally fully healthy is like a blessing in disguise, honestly, and better late than never, essentially. My only concern right now is some of our arms, our starters. There's kind of a question mark right now with Carlos Rodon, whether he's going to be available for this series against the Astros. It's looking like yes, but it might be in a limited capacity. But if we got Gio, if we got Lynn, and we can get somewhat of a solid start from Cease, it's not a bad 1, 2, 3, honestly.
No, not if it's those three there. And remember, I love Kopech out of the bullpen. To the point where I actually used him out of the bullpen in my Diamond Dynasty game on the show. Well, listen, you get your shot at who I sent you the TikTok of today that people took a shot at. Tone, it was all of a sudden here you see a caption, and it says, how the Houston Astros won the 2017 World Series, and you hear Sweet Caroline playing in the background, and someone bangs on a trash can 3 times.
I've seen a good one with the Astros quick, not to disrupt the flow of convo, but now that you got that impressed into my head, you guys know the situation with the Rays right now. A lot of talks about Montreal and, the bad things the Rays ownership's trying to do and ruin what great things they're building over there. But their ownership wanted to put a sign in center field, and it said, move the Rays to Montreal or something. First off, who would do that during their postseason run? So one of their biggest Rays fans on Twitter actually tweeted, I hope the Astros end up stealing one more sign. Come take this one. And it was a picture of the one that they were going to put in the outfield. So they were encouraging Astros and the Astros fans to come steal their sign that said move to Montreal, which never made it up because it was a terrible idea to begin with. But
now, as the oldest one in the group, there is a part of me that misses the Montreal Expos. Just being a Mets thing for a second, David Wright made his Major League debut, got his first hit and first home run against the Expos. So the Expos will always have a place in my heart. We got Gary Carter from the Expos. So I think Montreal would support that team more than Tampa would. No offense, Tone.
The thing is, if you data crunch it and number crunch it, Montreal averaged less attendees per game in their last season as a franchise than the Rays do right now in the heart of a pandemic. So,
Oh, okay.
and baseball is down. In-person attendance 2.5% the past 3.5 years, I believe, and I'm getting these statistics from a good friend of mine on Twitter, Devin Garnett. He actually made his way up to Tampa, and he talked with the Rays president and pled the case for the Rays. So I'm not disagreeing with you that Montreal's a bad baseball town because the Expos were cool, but I think if Tampa did a little more, they're hurting their own team. The owners are hurting that franchise.
Build a new stadium.
Build a new stadium, move it to Tampa. And, the influx of people moving in the city of Tampa right now, you would have X, Y, and Z amount of people within the stadium's radius if you do move the stadium to downtown Tampa. Right now, it's sitting 40 minutes outside of Tampa. Nobody wants to make that drive in Tampa. Floridians. I love Floridians, but they're a different breed. They're laid back. They don't want to travel 45 minutes to go to a ball game. So, they're not doing things. And if you guys go to Tampa, all you see is Lightning and Buck stuff. You don't sense a lick of Rays things anywhere. So a little sad over there right now. And they have one of the best teams in baseball with one of the smallest payrolls.
No, I agree. And Tone, you had mentioned the last weekend of baseball this past weekend, and I got to tell you, that NL West race was so much fun. It reminded me of 93, sorry, when the Giants lost to the Dodgers in the final day, won 103 games, and lost the Western Division to the Atlanta Braves. Unreal. What a great season out in the West. I know most of us had San Diego being the one to fight with the Dodgers. So that brings us to tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow night we have the first wild card game, American League, and it's the one no one wanted to see.
The 4.5 hour game coming tomorrow night.
Never mind 4.5 hour game. It's who's playing.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, and it is who's playing, and a lot of people have been moaning and grunting about it on Twitter. But one thing I will say about tomorrow's game, it's postseason baseball, and it's going to be one of those games that is going to be chippy. It's going to be a lot of fierce rivalry built up. It is Yankees-Red Sox, so I know a lot of fans are bickering about it, but, Yankees-Red Sox, one game, one thing on the line. If that doesn't scream postseason baseball, what does?
I'm not disagreeing with that sentiment. I'm just taking my shots as a Met fan. So
I agree. I agree.
I know. Let's get into the pitching matchup. Alex, I want to start with you. Nathan Eovaldi, Garrett Cole. We saw Garrett Cole regress as soon as they said you can't use pine tar in your fingers anymore. He has since gotten it back a little bit, other than that long weekend was it against Cleveland when he just got tore up. So here's another thing that no one's talking about. Chris Sale only pitched 2 innings the other day. Almost like a bullpen day. So now, if the Red Sox want to play Johnny Holstaff and you're going to start with Nate Eovaldi and Chris Sale, does it give them the one-up on the Yankees? What do you think, Alex?
100% it does. The fact that you can probably, if necessary, Eovaldi, I had him on my fantasy team this year, and he's had a couple rough starts, but he's also had some quality starts as well, going 7, 8, 9 innings. So you can definitely get potentially a good start out of him. But if things kind of get dicey or it's a little competitive and you want to use that advantage of Hurler and Chris Sale, who only threw, like you mentioned, 2 innings the other day, it's not a bad advantage. And then they're playing at home, so they're gonna have the crowd behind them. That stadium's gonna be rocking. I mean, yesterday I was watching a little bit of that game on my phone while trying to keep up with the football, and seeing Devers and company and Bogarts and stuff like that just come through in the clutch moments. Man, it's gonna be a good game tomorrow.
Tone, I want to take this a different direction with you. We've seen what Giancarlo Stanton has done the last couple of weeks. He's been almost unconscious as far as being on fire up until that Tampa series when Tampa really played them. I mean, they had won the division already. They were trying to keep the Yankees out. If you had to take Red Sox staff, Yankees offense. Which one are you going with?
I'm going with the Yankees offense, and that's just because of the names. Nothing against the Red Sox staff, but we have seen a better Red Sox staff in past postseasons. We could agree that this isn't one of the most feared Red Sox staffs. And again, they do have some decent pitchers. They got Evaldi, they got Sale, they got guys like the likes of that. But when you see this Yankees roster, and I know some of the guys they've acquired haven't been as great as they hoped they would be, but you have that Stanton on fire. You have a guy like Judge. You got guys like Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo, who you brought over at the deadline. Gallo has dipped, I know, in his time in New York, but still a fair bat. You got those four that could just hit moonshot home runs at any given time and any given day. Amongst guys like Gary Sanchez in that lineup, amongst other people, you could go on and on about the Yankees, and I believe LeMahieu's banged up. But still, I mean, that doesn't to me, their lineup is still what it is. It's the Yankees. It's a great lineup, and it has the potential to make a postseason run. Not saying they'll do so, but it has potential.
Oh, I agree with you. And there's a reason a lot of people pick them to be a World Series participant because of that lineup. No one picked it because of their pitching.
Correct.
So if we had to throw a prediction at it, are we saying that it's the Yankees going to Tampa? Or are the Boston Red Sox going to Tampa?
I'll start here. I really do, for Tampa's sakes. I don't think they really care too much who it is at the end of the day. Like you did say, Mike, they were seemingly trying to keep the Yankees out of the playoffs, although they did a good job against the Yankees all season long. The Rays didn't really struggle with them too much during the regular season. I think the Yankees win this one, guys, and I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a toss up. It is a crapshoot. But Garrett Cole, he showed me he could rebound this year. He fell apart a little bit at the end, but I think he's going to be fired up tomorrow. I think he's going to be ready to make an indent into the Yankees Red Sox rivalry, really for the first true time as it is a postseason game. I'm going with the Yankees tomorrow, and I don't think either team beats the Rays, but I think the Yankees win the one game play-in.
Alex, who you got?
I got to go with the home team, and I get exactly where Tones is coming in terms of what that lineup has to offer, and obviously you're going with Garrett Cole, your ace. But something tells me that Boston's going to find a way, and it's going to be a tight one. I'm going to say like a 4-3 type of game. It's not going to be 7-6. 10-9 type of thing. I think it's going to be tight. Pitching is going to really come up clutch, and Boston's going to just barely sneak it out 4-3.
Scary part is if it's tight, I like Boston more than I like the Yankees, just because of the problems with the back end of that Yankee bullpen that really have been there all year. You saw late in the season they were going to other people besides their big money closer and Aroldis Chapman. So I like Boston. I know it sounds like I'm just a bitter Met fan, but I think Boston's got the one up being at home and also having that Chris Sale card in their back pocket. That's going to be huge because he can get both lefties and righties out. So if you have to, and you bring in Sale in the middle of the game, you're going to neutralize Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo right off the top. So let's go to the next night where we get a matchup no one saw coming, including Alex's father, who is a big Cardinals fan. The hottest team on the planet, the St. Louis Cardinals, at Dodger Stadium against the LA Dodgers, the defending champs. Do we have a pitching matchup?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Wainwright and Scherzer?
Wainwright and Scherzer.
Wow.
Oh, I love it.
I love it too, and I will say, don't believe. You could ask my brother and my friend Brett, who's a Cardinals fan. My friend was a little displeased with the Cardinals' inactivity at the deadline, but I told him by acquiring J. Happ and John Lester, although they were having down seasons at the time, and Happ he had a couple good starts to begin. I said that those two moves could be enough to get the Cardinals into the postseason. Everyone laughed at me. They poked fun at me. They said, why? I said Lester's experience. I said the Cardinals need inning eaters right now. That's when they were struggling to find consistency in their rotation. Happ and Lester provided that consistency they needed. Their veteran leadership provided their younger pitchers leadership they needed. Hence, here we are all these days and months later. I didn't know the Cardinals were going to do it that impressively, but I knew that these two guys would have a factor at the end of the day, and here we are. They led them into the postseason after the Reds and Padres both collapsed.
So we get an old school rivalry again, the Dodgers and Cardinals. Duked it out in the 80s. You had memorable postseason series once we went to the wild card era in the middle 90s into now. Haven't they beaten each other to go to a World Series before? I know in 85 the Cardinals beat the Dodgers. Have the Dodgers beaten the Cardinals to get to a World Series already too?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers did beat the Cardinals to go to the World Series. One of these times, I think the Dodgers did for sure.
17?
Yeah, 17. I believe when they lost to the Astros. When the Dodgers lost to the Astros, I want to say.
I think you're right.
They did take out the Cardinals. That sounds right.
So, hottest team in the game with maybe the best two corner infielders in the National League in Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. And now you have a Dodger team without Max Muncy. So,
and no Kershaw.
Yeah, but Kershaw wasn't going to pitch that game anyway. They got Scherzer for a reason.
One thing is, whoever NL West, they both really wanted to win that division because no one wanted to play this game against St. Louis. Neither of those teams do, and no matter what, I know both are better than St. Louis, but in a one-game playoff, shit, I like, Cardinals are the Cardinals, man. They're going to bring the noise.
St. Louis has gone into Los Angeles within the past handful of years and won wild card games before. So
I would have liked San Fran's chances to beat St. Louis more in this type of game than I like the Dodgers' chances more. And I just say that because San Fran's proven to me over this year with Gabe Kapler, they're one of those teams. They're going to outmanage anyone in a close game just about. I mean, they don't have the talent. And they don't have the players on pen to paper. They have some great veterans, but the way Kapler and his staff manage that team this year, I didn't see better. And I wasn't a Gabe Kapler fan. I wasn't a Gabe Kapler believer. When the Giants hired him, I said, "What the hell are they doing?" But I think that's perhaps the only. I think the Cardinals have a better chance against the Dodgers than they do against the Giants in a one-game playoff. That's just me.
No, I agree with you, and I like St. Louis in this game for that very reason. They just seem to find a way to get it done.
We've seen Dave Roberts struggle before too. I mean, the Dodgers have enough money to make any manager look good. Nothing against Dave Roberts' credit, but we've seen the Dodgers choke. We've seen Dave Roberts make some bad moves in postseasons before. Who's to say that won't happen again?
No, I agree with you. I got to go with St. Louis in this game. And as much as it pains me to do it, because I'd love to see San Francisco wipe the floor with the Dodgers. But, yeah, I think are we in agreement here? Are we all taking St. Louis in this game?
I mean, as much as it kind of, it's a swerve, honestly, because of the juggernaut that the Dodgers are, I got to go St. Louis, like Tone said, in a one-game series, winner take all,
I'm with you.
It grosses me out to say this as much as being a Cubs fan, but how could you bet against St. Louis? How could you do it right now? The path that they've carved themselves out to be one of the most iconic teams in recent postseason memory, and if they win this game, they're only going to keep building to their Cinderella story. So I like St. Louis here, and I think it's going to be a close competitive game. Dodgers aren't going to get blown out, but I do see St. Louis escaping with the W.
No, I listen. What they did over the last month of the season was epic. The one caution I will give them, the last team to win, the last two teams who had go on win streaks like that and get into the playoffs, neither one of them won a title. The 2007 Colorado Rockies and the 2017 Cleveland Indians. Neither team won a title.
Very true. At least both of them made the World Series for their sakes, but
Tribe were out in the first round.
Indians made it in 2016, that's right. But the Rockies made it, although they got swept, but they made it that year.
So we get into the next round. So now we have Tampa Bay gets If Tone
Boston?
is right, the Yankees, and Alex and I think it's Boston. So I don't want to start with the 2-1 seeds because I think they're going to go through either way. I don't think the Dodgers or the Cardinals have enough juice to beat the way San Francisco has played. I don't think either the Red Sox or the Yankees are going to get past Tampa. I think after, especially the Yankees, because after Garrett Cole, it's a big drop, and Tampa is nothing but consistent. Let's go to the next series, and that is the 3-2 matchup in the American League, hosted by the Houston, I like to bang a trash can, Astros. They will play the Chicago White Sox. I'm going to start because I'm going to let Alex go last and have his fun. I like the White Sox. I think they're deeper in the rotation. They're healthy. Their lineup is deeper, 1 through 9. And as much as we can't stand his age, it's Tony La Russa. He's got 3 rings, and he's been to how many World Series? I think
5, 6?
5 or 6. Figure 3 in a row with Oakland. The Cardinals went in 04.
And 11.
06.
Oh, yeah, 06.
And 11.
Yeah.
Correct.
So he's been to 6 World Series. He's 3-3. I like Chicago. And they brought Tony La Russa in for this year. But it is Dusty Baker.
I was just about to say that.
5 division titles with 5 different teams. That's impressive. That's it. Tones, what do you think is going to be? Let me ask you this. I just gave a prediction for the series based on lineup and pitching depth. If you had one player from either team that could take this thing over, who you got?
If I had one player from either team, or one from each team, or if I could pick one player in the series.
Pick one in the series.
If I pick one game changer in the series, and I know it's, there could be fun poke behind it, but I'm going with Jose Altuve. Altuve is the next factor in the playoffs, especially. Altuve is going to be one of these guys that the White Sox have to make sure he's left off bases. They're going to have to make sure that they do everything they can to have a guy like Altuve out. He started this year extraordinary. He was on fire. He cooled off over the past couple months ago, and I know that there's been some scrutiny behind some of his postseason success because of, the scandals and whatnot. But what that guy's been able to do in postseasons to this point has been on another level. So I think that Jose Altuve is someone to watch, especially with the Astros pitching staff not completely up to par, in my opinion, with obviously Verlander is out for the year. He's been out. And then Greinke has been banged up as of late. So they don't really have veteran pitchers to lean on. I'm going with their veteran hitter to lean on, and I think Jose Altuve is the guy to keep an eye on this series, for better or for worse, for that matter. But if he does good, I think Astros do good. If White Sox shut down Altuve and keep him quiet, I think it's going to be a long series for Houston.
Well, you're very right. So, Alex, take us home with this one.
One player, or you want to, or what?
I want to know I want to know, as a White Sox fan, what scares you more about this team?
Just like the depth that they have in terms of hitters. I mean, yes, they're without. I think they're still without Bregman, or is he back now?
He's back now. He is back now.
He's back. Okay, so when you think of the likes of Yuli Gurriel, Correa, Altuve, Brantley, and Bregman, it's a little scary because they're kind of a deep lineup. In terms of the pitching, I really haven't seen too much of the Astros. I try to stay away from them as much as humanly possible. I do think it's going to be an uber competitive series. I think it probably will go all 5 games, honestly. But I do see my White Sox taking it in that 5th game, winning it in Houston, which will be a tough feat. And I think the X factor in that game for the White Sox will be Luis Robert. I think he's going to have a phenomenal series. He's young, but he goes out there and plays absolutely fearless. And with him batting in the 2-hole right behind Tim Anderson, he's got some ridiculous power and ridiculous speed. So that right there really sets it up for Moncada, Abreu, whether it's Grandal, Gavin Sheets, Andrew Vaughn, and so forth. So I think the catalyst could be Luis Robert for this team.
And the scariest thing is, real quick, just listen, like, the White Sox pitching is the X factor of pitching, no doubt. They hold every pitching category, every pitching comparison with the Astros, starting wise, bullpen wise. Give me the White Sox. I know the Astros made a move to acquire Graveman, but the White Sox outdueled that by getting Kimbrel and Tepera. So the White Sox pitching against this Jose Altuve, Kyle Tucker, Carlos Correa, Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel, Michael Brantley. That's going to be an all-star pitching rotation against an all-star batting order. That's what I'm excited to see. That's going to be fun baseball right there.
Who's going in game one for Chicago?
Probably Giolito.
Yeah, because they're both to be determined right now. I'd almost start Lance Lynn and let Giolito pitch at home.
So you're saying go Lynn?
I'd go Lynn.
Cease,
I'd go Cease in game two
Gio
and
at
let
home.
Giolito pitch at home. If you somehow find a way to win those two there's your stud, and there's the wall the Astros are going to have to climb.
Well, I'm going to just be quite honest. I do see the White Sox getting one game in Houston. I kind of find it a little difficult as a homer as I am for them to get both games. I'm just going to be quite honest. I think the Astros are really deep. They're going to find some way to kind of sneak one out, or maybe just outmash the White Sox, who can also mash as well too. So I think it's going to be tough, but I'm hoping that the White Sox can at least get one, and then you have a chance to bring it home and play two, and that right there can swing it for you here at home.
Yeah, I think if they have both of them ready to pitch game two, and if you can go with Cease in game two, if you win game one and bring Gio back at home, try and get game two while you're down there. So let's go back to the National League, and let's go to the 2-3 series there, and it's the Milwaukee Brewers, the champs of the Central, against the Atlanta Braves, the personal bane of my existence, in the National League East. And I'm going to start here as the Atlanta Braves hater, and I'm going to say this. Atlanta wins this series, and they win it quick.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
What they have done since losing maybe one of the top 4 players in the game is remarkable. Every button that Atlanta has pushed this year has been great. And, oh, by the way, Albies, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs at second base. Freddie Freeman, the defending MVP at first. Dansby Swanson, who's no slouch at short. They're loaded for bear. And they have enough arms to get it done. I think that Atlanta's going to win this thing in 3 or 4 games. And it may be 4 because Milwaukee gets 1 at home. But no, I got Atlanta winning this thing. I got them winning it quick, too. Tone, so let me ask you the question I asked Alex about the last series. And, Alex, I'm going to ask you the X Factor one. Brave pitching, Milwaukee hitting. Who you got?
Well, I will say this, to tip the cap to the Braves, what a tremendous job they did at the deadline. They acquired the pieces that push them over the top. Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall, Rich Rodriguez. Those 5 really helped propel this injury-plagued team over the top. Milwaukee's lineup just does not scare me. I'm familiar with the Brewers in the Central. Christian Yelich has never been the same after the MVP season and injuries he's had before. And I don't really see – I'm not really scared of Brewers lineup. We've seen Keston Hiura was supposed to be the next coming of the big piece in their lineup. He's been sent down multiple times this year, and he just hasn't looked like the guy that they thought he was going to be. And when you really look around, their main guys are guys that you still kind of go, are they for real or are they not for real? Like Luis Urias has had a big year. One big guy was Eduardo Escobar, who they picked up, but he really did nothing ever since Milwaukee's picked him up. I mean, his average is down to 250 now. He's still stuck around 24 homers. So when I look at Milwaukee's offense, nothing there really scares me. Colton Wong's average tampered down to 270. Omar Narvaez's average tampered all the way down to 260. They just don't have the big guns to me to get them advancing in terms of offense. And although Atlanta doesn't have tremendous pitching, I think that their pitching definitely overshadows Milwaukee's offense, which to me isn't very hard to do. They're probably the worst offense in the postseason. But Atlanta's pitching composed of Ian Anderson, Max Fried, Will Smith, Charlie Morton, Rich Rodriguez. I mean, Huascar, they got some guys who could throw some good ball, especially Charlie Morton. He's familiar with the postseason, especially in the AL. Will Smith, he's familiar with the postseason. Max Fried is tremendous. So give me the Braves pitching over Milwaukee's hitting.
And if I can interject something there, Charlie Morton's pitching game 1.
Yep.
Wow.
I was shocked, but listen, you're right. He's the postseason guy in that rotation.
And
Alex, I'm sorry. Go on.
Is it Woodruff then going for the Brewers then? I'm guessing.
To be determined.
Oh, okay.
I want to be. I think I want to be shocked if it is Woodruff, but it is to be determined. But to me, Woodruff gives you your best chance at game 1.
So, Alex, one player on either team that you think could take this series over.
Frederick Freeman.
I love him.
Frederick Freeman.
I love him.
He is a bad man. I like the fact that he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Tony Gwynn. But also he has the power because the man hits the ball everywhere. There is no one way to play him, and I love that about a lefty. He can hit the ball opposite field. He can go up the middle. Basically screw the shift when you play against Frederick Freeman because the man could rake. And that's my X factor as far as I'm concerned. And I know it's going to be tough because Milwaukee's going to probably try and do everything possible to kind of neutralize him, but there's other weapons around him that can kind of expose him, and then you're going to possibly be in a situation where you have to pitch to him. And if you do have to pitch to him, good luck.
No, I agree with you 100%. Believe it or not, the player that I would put as the X factor, Austin Riley, the third baseman from Atlanta. He's the right-handed complement, and he's been that way to Freddie all year. Either him or Albies, honestly. I would list as the X factor for me personally.
Also,
all right, so that gets
a close second, Duval, because he hit like 42 home runs this season very quietly.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So because we're mixed on the wild card games, I want to do this a little different. Instead of doing a straight prediction for who's going to get to the World Series, which we'll do at the end, let me ask you about storylines in the next round. So, Tone, if you get your first round American League right, and you have the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays, what is one storyline that you would love to see play out in that series?
That money cannot buy series wins. I think that the Rays' small ball propels them to victory, and it proves perhaps the new path of building into baseball. Now, don't get me wrong. Adding veterans when you do call up those prospects, like how the White Sox did it this year, like how the Cubs did it back in 2015, or how the Mets did it back in 2015 as well. When you do it like that, that's the right thing to do. You get your prospects up, you spend the money, then that's smart. The Rays, they just keep it. They're special. They keep growing prospects. They make them into stars. They get rid of prospects. A little bit of a hot take here, bold take. I would not be surprised if Tyler Glasnow is throwing his last pitch as a Tampa Bay Ray. I would not be shocked.
Neither would I.
I wouldn't be shocked. And this team, I don't know if I heard this right, but I think they won 2 or 3 minor league championships this year too. I could be wrong on that, but that just speaks volumes that the guys coming up, they already have, and all their team's young already. They got Wander Franco, who, if you guys watch Wander Franco, this kid is going to be special. He is going to be special. He's already a top 25 player in baseball, and he could barely drink a legal drink. So I don't even know if he could drink a legal drink, actually.
He's not 21 yet.
Yeah, he's not. I think he just turned 20 at the beginning of the year, perhaps, or something. So this team's incredible, and the pitching McClellan, he is special as well. They have a couple other young guys, and Brandon Lau, he has been tremendous this season. He has 40 homers, damn near 40 homers. Mike Zunino and
I love Zunino.
him and Francisco Mejia have turned into a tremendous catching combination for them. So the Rays just always put a team together full of cheap veterans and great young talent, and it's going to beat the Yankees or the Red Sox. But that statement stands true both ways, right? Young talent beats money, whether it's Boston or New York. So that's what I'm rolling with. Young talent trumps money.
Alex, I want to go to the National League with you, and I want to say if the Giants get the Cardinals, is that the bigger upset chance than Dodgers Giants?
Yes, because I think that if it is in fact the Cardinals Giants, I think that a team that is full of young talent that won 104 games, that has a team that probably, if you ask most of the country, can you name 3 guys on that roster? Probably can't. I think that team is gonna be something special. The way that Gabe Kapler has managed his team, playing in the West, where we all thought that the Padres were going to be that juggernaut because they spent big money. The Dodgers, the same, where they spent big money as well too. They just have a printing press underneath their stadium essentially. Um, it just kind of goes to attest that if you look at within the past handful of years of teams that won World Series, and we're going back to like when we said the Cubs, the Royals, and so forth, they've all kind of done that small ball. Not, obviously Chicago is definitely a big market, but if you think about the Royals don't have many other guys that they had in that run when they played against the Mets, correct?
And the Giants the year before. That's what I was going to say. The Giants have done this 3 times.
Correct.
I mean, can you name 3 guys from that 2010 Giants team?
Oh, Posey. Gosh. Wow.
Wait,
Baumgartner?
No, not till 12.
Not till 12.
what's the question?
Wow.
Name 3 guys from the 2010 San Francisco Giants.
Pablo Sandoval.
Not there yet.
Wait, or on the team still, or what do you?
No. 3 guys from that championship team that beat Texas in 2010.
Tim Lincecum.
He said Buster. Who's number 3?
Matt Cain.
Yep. And I'll give you Aubrey Huff.
Aubrey Huff.
I'll throw another name at you, and that's Marco Scutero.
Marco Scutero, yeah. Wow, I remember.
Oakland A's right there.
Former Met. So they've all done it. Like even my Mets. I told you guys before, my favorite moment of that 2015 World Series, after Cespedes fouled the ball off his leg, 8 of the 9 dudes on the field all came through the Met system and all made their major league debut in a Met uniform. So, yeah, I like the small ball thing. I also think the Cardinals are the better upset fit against the Giants.
True. That is true.
And oh, by the way, Brandon Belt, Crawford, Mike Yastrzemski.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's who was on my mind.
So here's a sidebar. If Buster Posey wins a 4th ring, is he in the Hall of Fame?
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
You look at him at the catcher's perspective and the things he's done at that position to change a game for moderate catchers. It's been incredible. I mean, he's just a pioneer in baseball. 4 rings, that's a hell of a lot to prove, and he's just earned it.
Not to mention that injury that he suffered a number of years ago. I thought he was done after that.
I thought he was going to play first base.
Yeah, I thought he was going to primarily shift. I know he moved there a little bit, but wasn't, he's still catching pretty strong.
Yeah, because you can't take Belt's bat out of the lineup either.
And they have a pressing prospect who's on his ass, Joey Bart, but that's how good Posey is, that Bart just stays down in the minors because they don't want to, take away at bats from Buster.
No, I agree with you. All right, gentlemen. I want to throw prediction time out there, and then I got a couple of questions on non-playoff teams for you guys. Alex, I just did my postseason bracket.
Oh. Look at that.
And I have them beating Atlanta just because I'm petty like that. But I will go first, and I will say with the lineup and the pitching and the almost dementia-laden manager, listen, I like the White Sox. They match up with every team, including that juggernaut that is the Tampa Bay Rays. Did you ever think you'd say that?
Yes. I mean, I've said it in the past. It's just next man up for that organization.
Yeah. I think they match up the best with Tampa. I think they match up the best with either the Yankees or the Red Sox, whoever comes out of that series. And I think they're going to beat Houston. I had the Chicago White Sox getting to and winning the World Series out of this group of teams. And I think they beat Atlanta. So, Alex, you can just piggyback on me if you want. That's cool.
I mean, from your mouth to the heavens above, if the White Sox that would just be phenomenal. But it's just also a testament to show you that developing players, drafting, and years of being terrible and kind of finally figuring it out and putting a right general manager who can kind of get the job done without going out there and spending buku bucks, that you can win something, or that you can be a perennial playoff team and kind of get to the promised land at a certain point. So if it does happen, I will be jumping for joy. I probably will be crying tears for days if they were to win, because 05 was a long time ago. Even 08 was a long time ago. They're one of their last, playoff appearances. So it would just be a sweet, sweet victory.
I'll see 2005 and raise you 1986. Anyway, Tone. Tone, looking at this set of teams, who you like coming through and who you like winning the whole thing?
I got the Rays over the Giants as it currently stands. I do think that the White Sox move past the Astros, and I got to tell you, White Sox, they're really fortunate, and they played really good ball to not be in that wild card game, because being in that wild card game in the AL is going to beat the crap out of you. Whoever comes out of that wild card game is going to come beat up. That's a hard path for a Boston or the Yankees. After that, you got to go to Tampa, and then after that, you probably got to play the White Sox, I'm assuming, because I think they beat the Astros. So one way or another, that would be a really hard path if they were to beat Tampa, obviously, then. So I think that Tampa and the Giants are the World Series matchup. I have Tampa over the Giants. I think that Tampa, it's their destiny. All their sports teams are winning right now. Their owners trying to move them out of town. I think that they win. I think they give their owners second thoughts. And I think that team, it's just such a good chemistry team. I mean, again, they don't have the names, the household names, but they have the players that people want on their team. Kevin Cash is one of the best managers in baseball, maybe the best in the American League. And that roster up and down that that talent up and down that roster is incredible. And then for San Fran's sakes, as we talked, they're just one hell of a team together. They're great coach. They're greatly coached. I find it hard to believe that they'll be taken down. I think it's Rays over San Fran. I would not be shocked if the White Sox end up in the World Series by any means, given the nature and talent of their roster, which is incredible, especially the back end of their bullpen. I just think the Rays do a better job of anyone in the AL of mix and matching and having their way in terms of matchups being in their favor. So I'm going with Rays over Giants. And I'll add in, it'll go 6 games. The World Series will go 6 games.
I think those are solid picks. I mean, we have an argument for, honestly, I think every team but one has an argument for getting to and winning the World Series. And unfortunately, that one is Houston. I think a really legit argument can be made for everybody except Houston just because of their pitching. That's all.
They'd be lucky if they, and I think the White Sox have an 80-90% chance of winning that series, but there would be nothing left of the Astros to me if they somehow escape that White Sox series. I think that they'd have to give it their all for those 5 games or whatnot. And I really just don't see the Astros moving past the White Sox to begin with. But if they somehow did, I feel like they would just have nothing left in the tank. Nothing against Dusty Baker and the great coach he is, but White Sox are going to give him hell if they limp on past that somehow. they're done. I think they're already cooked based on their pitching, but that's just me.
No, I'm with you. So I want to ask you a couple of quick questions. I said I didn't want to go too crazy tonight. Actually, I'll tell you something first. So Anthony DiComo, who writes for MLB.com, he's the Mets beat writer. Tweeted out how the Mets are going to hire their fifth manager in the last few years. Another president of baseball ops. It's a franchise in need of continuity. The first response was Steve Cohen. It said, "Andy, chill. I got this." It brought joy to my heart to see that. That's the first one. Second one. I posed this question to a friend of mine today, and I'm going to ask Alex first because he's a Chicago guy, but he's the other side of town. You have a choice as the GM of the New York Mets. Eat Robbie Cano's contract and re-sign Javi Baez, or let Baez walk and give Cano another chance. What are you doing?
I'm saying adios to Cano, 100%. And I'm eating that contract, 100%.
I'd find a way to buy him out so fast. Tone, second question's for you. You have a choice of free agents to pick from. You're trying to put together a left side of the infield. Do you unite the Seager brothers on the left side of your infield?
That would be a formidable combo on the left side. Are you talking about the Cubs or are you talking about any team?
I'm talking about anybody in general. I asked the Mets question first just because it's me. But this one is serious. If you were running a team, any team in the league, and you had a chance to put Corey and Kyle Seager on the left side of your infield, what do you do?
You do it. And I know it's very, 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 very unlikely, but how cool would it be if up-and-coming Seattle team found a way to get Corey Seager and keep Kyle Seager if they found affordability somehow with both of them? Not saying it's possible, not saying they'll do that. But given the year the Mariners had, and I know Kyle's expressed frustrations in Seattle time to time, but imagine if somehow Corey Seager would be the bat that Seattle needs and more. I think that's what Seattle is lacking the most. If Seattle somehow found the Seager brothers, and I'm hoping that Corey does find his way to Chicago, so I'm hoping that Chicago does land Corey Seager, the Cubs that is. But if Seattle or any team gets the Seager brothers, I'd be happy if the Cubs did. I'd find it great if Seattle did. But if you get those brothers on the left side of the infield, you know you're in for good offensive production night in and night out at the very least. They complement each other very well. Corey gets on base at a high clip, and Kyle racks in the runs at a high clip. So I think that they would make a good combination together.
All right, last of the three questions. If you're the Padres, do you blow it up?
Yes.
No. Oh, I don't disagree with Alex, but I'd say no only because the Padres have been in this spot before and they've failed before and they've blown it up before, and then it just leads to years of irrelevancy again. So instead of going down that route again, I'd probably try and stay maintaining relevancy. I'd probably try and keep it all together because remember when they had Craig Kimbrell, Heath Bell, the Upton brothers, they did all those things about, a decade ago almost now, and they almost depleted that team at the trade deadline with how underperforming they are. Although they had a terrible second half this season, that team showed signs of life in the first half. I think if they could somehow get another pitcher in there, they get Blake Snell healthy, they get Yu Darvish healthy, I think they could be okay. But could San Diego afford to keep all those guys around and risk another losing season? That's something to be seen.
So I want to interject real quick, Alex, and I'm gonna throw it to you. The difference between when they went to irrelevancy before, Tone, and now is El Nino. Because they still have somebody to put butts in the seats in San Diego in Fernando Tatis Jr. So it's kind of like, yeah, but you have your piece. They didn't have their piece back then. So I can see keeping it together, but if they're going to blow it up, that's a piece, man.
But do you want to make that piece angry? Is that in the best interest of that piece, blowing it up? You got to he's kind of
That piece is making 30-some million over the next 10 years. He can shut up for 5 minutes.
Are Angels fans happy with Mike Trout?
If they're not, they're stupid.
Why? They're not winning. I wouldn't be happy with
I wouldn't be happy with the front office who can't sign a pitcher that's not a hitter of any kind of clout before I'd be mad at the guy who's putting up numbers that are going to stick him in Cooperstown in an Angels cap.
But if the Padres blow it up again, you're just going to get Angels 2.0. Tatis and what else? No one's going to want to sign there. No one's going to want to go there. It's going to be Angels 2.0. You're going to have a great player wasting his talent.
It's possible. When I say blow it up, I'm talking you flip a coin between him and Machado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, flip a coin between him and Machado, and you got to make some other moves. But Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, you're good. I'm just saying bye to Machado 100%. And I 10 times over and twice on Sunday. There's just too much. You could just kind of feel, and it's obviously not made public, but there's too much turmoil and too many egos within that locker room. And like you mentioned, the core of that team is Fernando Tatis Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
I would personally blow it up. And I know that's probably not what San Diego wants to hear because they like, their name in comparison with the Giants and the Dodgers. But we've seen how this season ended for them. And I know the injury bug really got to them. Their pitching was basically depleted. But we've seen other organizations like the Tampa Bay Rays who had 20-something arms on the DL, and look at where they're at right now. You had the same thing with the White Sox. My guys, their bats, every one of their bats was out of the lineup for at least some period of time, if not an extended period of time, where some guys just came back a couple months ago. So somehow some teams can figure it out and kind of piece it together, and this team kind of just fell apart and derailed, and it looks like they're getting rid of their manager as well too. So something's got to give.
And that's just it. And again, Tone, I see why you would keep it together. And I see why you blow it up. That's why I picked San Diego for that question. Because there is compelling data on each side. Machado, this is not going to be popular. Snell and a couple other players I think may need to go. Remember, they also grabbed Adam Frazier from Pittsburgh.
Who did nothing in the second half.
Did nothing in the second half, but was he consistently playing? If you hand Adam Frazier third base, he's going to play well. Cronenworth every day at second, Tatis every day at short, and find a first baseman that's not Hosmer.
Yeah, Hosmer's got to go.
Yeah, I agree. So to wrap this up,
yeah, Hosmer's the odd man out. They were trying to move him at the deadline, I remember. So I think Hosmer's the first one out the door. I think that could be it. I think it's Hosmer out, and I think they'll keep their core. That's me.
And by all accords, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. It sounded like Hosmer was a little frustrated the fact that his name was in the rumor mill that he was potentially on the move. It sounded like he wanted to be part of that team, but the fact that he got chosen to be the odd man out, I don't think it set well with him at all. So
it didn't. And a guy like that, former World Series, but it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Oh, it definitely will be. So I'm going to start with Alex. Tell us what's coming up with row 7, because Tone, you're going to take a few minutes. What's going
on? What's coming up next? We're just kind of keep an eye on the Bears. I know they're 2-2 right now, but they're going into a very, 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 very tough stretch. Playing the likes of the Raiders next week, the Packers after that, and I think they got the Bucs in there someplace. The only potential easy or easier game in a sense is the Dinosaur and Ben Roethlisberger, but that's no easy win either. So it's kind of there's definitely issues going on here in Chicago as well too. The fact that Matt Nagy cannot name Justin Fields his starting quarterback, the fact that he still wants to say that Andy Dalton is number one is beyond puzzling to me. So we have bigger fish to fry here in Chicago, but right now, luckily, we're painting the city black and white. It's all Chicago White Sox.
Tone, you have your fingers in everything, my man. What else you got going on?
So every Saturday, whoever's interested, I do a show on Armchair Quarterback, a CBS affiliate in some areas. It's called Dixie Football Nation. We talk SEC, we talk Big Ten, we talk ACC. We talk it all, Dixie Football Nation. It's me, Matt McGee, and a couple other guys. So Armchair Quarterback, that's every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. until 9 a.m. on college football Saturdays Central Time. And then on Sundays, I'm a part of the Handicappers. And again, that's through Armchair Quarterbacks. I'm on from the 9 a.m. to 10 hour Central, but they run 9 to 11 Central. We go over gambling, fantasy advice, stardom sit-ems, games of the day, injury reports, and so forth. And then I have my Buccaneers podcast, which is all things Buccaneers. We actually just last week announced our partnership. We just joined with Bucks Life Media, so that's pretty cool. That should be fun. Things are on the up and up there. We interviewed Evan Winter from Sports Illustrated last week, and we have Pat Donovan coming on from WDAE Tampa Sports Radio one of these weeks upcoming, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. That's the equivalent to ESPN 1000 down in the Tampa area. And then Cardboard and Cracker Jacks, it's still not forgotten about. We're on about a 1 episode a month pace there. We're having our playoff primer tomorrow, I believe, me and Billy, maybe Jake. So we'll see. It's just a lot, and I like to stay busy, so I'm always happy to hop on yours. I'm happy to be on Dixie Football Nation, Handicappers, do the Buccaneers. I just love being on pod. So that's what I'm up to right now, just out and about doing my thing.
So I want to show you something for Cardboards and Cracker Jacks. You ready? My cousin found this in a box.
Wow.
This whole thing is mostly Mets from the mid-'80s. So I got to go through that yet. Anytime you boys on Dixie Football Nation want to get into real Big Ten talk, give me a call.
Hey, we'll hit you up. We can't think of the little sister Big Ten team out of Ohio this year. No, I'm kidding. Ohio State, so they're always a menace in the Big Ten. And, my boys have a big matchup against Iowa this week before we get to our Penn State matchup. Or Penn State, Ohio State matchup. Penn State's got to worry about Iowa this week.
Agreed. And as far as Big Rican goes, I am trying to fill in where I can. The schedule has gotten crazier, obviously, with the infant and the older boy who's he has senior night for cross country next week. It's unbelievable. Boys, thank you so much. It has been a ton of fun. The only thing I can announce for Big Rican is that the night before the big one, I don't know if you boys saw this year, but Jim Harbaugh said his goal was to beat Ohio State or die trying. We're going to throw Harbaugh a wake.
Can I join that podcast?
This is a live event on as many places as I can find.
Is Facebook working now?
I don't know.
It is.
The only thing that's changed is I was going to be in Cleveland for it. But I'm going to be home. We're not going to go with numbers are still not doing well in Ohio. So, but as always, Big Rican can be found everywhere these boys can be found. Google, Anchor, Breaker, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and just like I always tell you at the end, ask Alexa. Gentlemen, what do you say we do this again right before the World Series?
Let's do it.
In, and more in, guys. I'm always down to talk ball with you two.
Hopefully we'll get Willie on here. This is the Big Rican Baseball Show signing off. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Always an honor.